Hi everyone, my name is Sean O'Kane and welcome to another edition of Chip Estimate TV, where we bring you the latest trends and information in chip design and IP in the EDA and semiconductor industry. My guest today, once again, is our road warrior. He's a man that travels the country in search of the latest trends in technology. He's the president and CEO of IP Systems and IoT Systems. And he also writes a bi-weekly blog for ChipEstimate.com called IP Insider. Welcome, Mr. John Blyler.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, I'll just dive right into this. Recently, you attended the IEEE conference. Is it a conference?
Yes.
Okay, and it's a very, very technically focused show in the semiconductor space. So could you tell us a little bit about that show and what are the interesting takeaways?
You bet. This actually was their 60th show, believe it or not. They've been around a long time. It's a very device-focused show. Lots of papers covering a whole swath of topics from advanced displays to power semis, bio-MEMS, analog circuits, all that kind of stuff. There were two things that struck me, and again, a very big show, so I'm only grabbing two. One was in the power semi space, the founder of the IGBTs, the bipolar transistors, uses power switches, high voltage. He was explaining and showing numbers how the efficiencies brought by the semiconductor space, especially those devices, have greatly decreased the amount of gas consumption and electrical costs in motors and things like that. The second was this bio-MEMS area where they're using MEMS to, for example, to stress at the cellular level, to stress the cells because certain diseases affect the elasticity of cells. Mm-hmm. The second area that they're doing is in DNA sequencing, where they use the CMOS MEMS, mm-hmm. the CMOS sensors, to look for tags that have been marked in DNA nucleotides for sequencing. So I think those were very interesting.
Very cool. Hey, the California landscape, the energy landscape is changing very, very fast, with the electric vehicles on our roads, solar panels covering our buildings. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of need to rethink the infrastructure that allows us to power all this for our day-to-day lives. Ford Motor Company had an event which you attended just the other day, and they were exploring trends and a lot more in a very collaborative event in San Francisco called In Transit, the future of energy and transportation. John, can you just tell us a little bit about that event that you attended, and talk a little bit about the energy landscape for electric vehicles, for solar, and also, just finally, how do semis kind of fit into that power equation?
Yes, there's a lot there, and this kind of funky event, it was a great show down in the Mission District of all places. Mm-hmm. So the focus, by and large, was on the infrastructure, and to highlight that, one of the first discussions was on what we would recognize as the war of the currents. DC versus AC back at the turn of the century with Edison and Tesla, yeah. One DC and the other kind of the AC component. Well, AC won out, and because you need AC back then and even today to transmit power over long distances. But it was an interesting note because DC today is really what thanks to the semiconductor industry and the benefits of Moore's law, there's electronics everywhere. By and large, they're powered by DC. Mm-hmm. And you can get DC from solar and from other things that are right around your home, which was sort of how Edison started out. DC isn't great for transmission, but you can do it right at the house. So that was kind of an interesting side note, that the infrastructure, AC-based, is having some challenges now because our electronics are all DC, or mostly DC.
That's a great historical perspective. And can you talk a little bit more about the future and some of the topics that they were discussed?
So the future was centering much more around millennials. Mm-hmm. And the millennials have a certain expectation. They're used to very intuitive cell phones and whatnot, and they expect that same easy experience with their automobiles and with everything else. So this is forcing car manufacturers to scratch their heads and figure out how in the world they're going to make their infotainment system and whatnot compatible with the experience of the cell phone and the tablet and whatnot. So that's leading to some innovative simulations and other things of which in the semiconductor space at EDA especially we're well acquainted. So we're moving in that direction.
Well, cool. I mean, it's so far advanced, especially with the automotive industry and repair. And you bring your car in, they just plug it into a computer and it spits out everything. Gone are the days where the guy goes under the hood, takes the dipstick out and says, "Hey, Mr. Blyler, your quart low.
Yes.
Can I fill her up?" They know, but before you even drive in, what's wrong with the car.
Yep.
Right?
They do. And a lot of it is, as we've said, the electronics, right? It knows everything.
Yeah. Well, listen, I really appreciate you joining us. As always, you bring some enlightening topics and information. It's so cool. So I really appreciate you joining us once again.
Thank you, Sean.
All right.
I enjoy doing it.
All right. So for John Blyler, my name is Sean O'Kane. We'll see you next time on another edition of Chip Estimate TV. Thanks, John.